Welcome back to another episode of You Win or You Learn. I'm Dylan Haskin. In this video, I'm chatting with Thomas Sandell. Thomas is an incredibly talented filmmaker based here in Cape Town. I met Thomas years ago when we were both filming a downhill mountain biking event. And since then, Thomas has had an extremely interesting journey with his filmmaking. So in this episode, Thomas is going to be sharing his journey from back when he was like 14 when he started this, up till now, where he's been working with professionals, extreme sports athletes, filming documentaries, and traveling all over the world. So sit back, get a cup of tea, cup of coffee, or enjoy this while you're driving, and let's jump into the episode. How's it going, Thomas?
Yeah, all good. And yourself?
Lekker. Thank you for coming.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. So I usually just start off the episode just giving a quick explanation on what the podcast is about and why I made it. So it's called You Win or You Learn, and basically playing on the fact of in being an entrepreneur or like running your own business or being a freelancer, there's a lot of things that go wrong, and we have the opportunity to kind of learn from those things. Otherwise, we're not going to really make it. So I feel like we have a lot of experience in twisting or like looking for the lessons in the failures and kind of going from there.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I've got a few things to say about that.
So just maybe for the beginning, for people who don't know who you are, if you can just introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you currently do? And yeah, what's your like elevator pitch basically?
Cool. Well, I'm Thomas, Cape Townian, and I've been a freelance filmmaker for 8 years now professionally. I mostly shoot mountain biking. So like that's generally the field that I work in, but filmmaking has helped me like branch out of that sort of narrow space. And now, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to work with Monster and a whole bunch of different sports people. I would say that's my main avenue is sports films, sports documentaries as of late. And yeah, it's kind of just been going with the flow in terms of filmmaking and just following, wherever it takes me.
A little bit of background of how I met you. It was at my first paid job with Troy. He was on a previous episode, and it was at a downhill mountain biking event. And I think you were on it as well.
Yeah.
But
separately.
That must have been like, I'm just trying to think, you are 28 now, you said. So this would have been like 2011, which is 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So how old were you then? My math's not
14.
Going. 14?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Could have been 14 plus 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
28. Sure. So that was my first time like meeting Thomas. And the thing I like remember about you guys is you had a lot of like DIY gear.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you were setting up this rail system, this cable thing that was going through the bushes to like track the bikes through it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Is that when you started, or had like maybe go back to where?
That was about the time I started. Maybe a year before that, I just borrowed a friend's camera, and I was filming like a BMX event. It's just like a standard handycam, like 2,000 Rand handycam. And I just enjoyed it so much. And I always love watching edits like on Pink Bike and things. And I just thought like, that's so cool. I just want to make films about my friends riding. So my first job first shoot ever was with Theo Erlingson and Duran in Paarl. So yeah, and at that time, that was when I basically started like figuring out the DIY stuff, because I watched all the edits on Pink Bike and I thought the cable cam shots were always so cool. And I thought, okay, well, how can I do that like on a budget, I guess? And it was pretty simple in some respects, like basically just built like a window frame essentially and put 2 pulleys on it and just like a cheap like little ball head with the handycam on there, and then bought a rope at like YWOYL or something, like a yachting store.
Yeah.
And basically like no winches or anything, and just put a bunch of jerseys on the ends And then that's how we were like doing the cable cam shots until the one day that actually fell apart and the camera went flying. Yeah, so and then I rebuilt that. And we also, growing up, riding dirt jumps as well, there was a guy called Nick Reichwein at Potato Trails who always used to he built like a big jib out of wood, like completely made it himself. And he was also building cable cams and things. And so I was riding there. I hadn't actually started making films, but he built a slider. So I had like all these different little rigs that he made. I have no idea why he made them, because he put a GoPro Hero on there, and like obviously, like, I mean, he just enjoyed filming. So like that's also kind of what sparked my like imagination in terms of like what you can do by yourself in terms of like, I mean, just making things out of wood and taking a skateboard and building like a train track essentially for the skateboard, like this massive wooden thing that I'd carry around and carry down the mountain and then like tie the tripod onto the skateboard, and that was like my dolly. And then after a few years of doing that, there was a guy in Neisner that would make DIY sliders and jibs. They cost like 2,000 Rand.
Okay.
So I think that was about when I was like 15, 16. So I got like the jib, and he'd like make it all himself out of just plastic and like skateboard bearings and things.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where things started like, I guess, elevating or progressing. And then eventually got a better camera as well. And that's kind of where it all started, at those races and just shooting mountain bikes with my friends. Like that was just what I was stoked to do, because I also grew up riding motorbikes, and I think I've been on motorbikes since I was about 3 or something.
Sure.
And that led to motocross, and then I figured out that like mountain biking is so much more accessible. Like you don't have to like go to the track and buy petrol, and when the engine blows up, you don't have to like wait 2 weeks for the bike to be serviced. And so that's kind of how I got into mountain biking, and it's led me to where I am now, to be honest. So
Your getting into the camera side of it, did your parents do anything with photography, video when you were growing up, or how did you get interested in actually the filming side of it?
So no, my dad made roof windows, and my mom just basically helped with that. And also we have a family farm that she helped with. So not really. She was also a chef.
Okay.
So not really. My grandpa made films.
Okay.
He was a mountaineer.
Oh, wow.
So, and I didn't know that until I must have been 23 when he told me.
Sure.
Because I guess he never mentioned it. And so I guess that's where I get it from. But I guess it was just something that I was so drawn to, because watching all the videos, all the mountain biking videos, like the level was always so high. And especially like the Canadians, like Nick Genovese, Mindspark Cinema, when I was growing up, like those, like that's what I was like aspiring to, if that made sense. And I just thought, like, we're not doing anything in South Africa, or like, not that we're not doing anything, but like with Teo and Duran and things, like I was like, these guys are so good at riding, and let's make a video of our own, let's make our own little Mindspark Cinema. That was the idea. So
That's cool.
But in terms of family and things, not really, I guess. But I guess I've met so many people along the way that like have sort of helped guide me, and just different people that I look up to that I've sort of met along the way.
Yeah. So that was, let's say you high school then at that point, making films, mountain biking kind of things. Where did you go from high school? Or like, what was your plan at that point to like, when I grow up, I'm going to do whatever? Were you seeing it as like a hobby, or were you kind of keen to go into filming?
I saw it as a hobby in the beginning when I was like 13, 14. And then it kind of changed when people wanted to pay me. And then that's where like I was like, oh, people want to pay me to make films. And obviously in the beginning, like I didn't really understand like delivering on a brief or anything. I was like 15. And so yeah, I guess when I started getting money, I sort of thought, okay, well, this is something that I could do, you know. That's like at first it was like pocket money, but yeah, like so throughout high school, I started picking up jobs. Like I shot the MX, the Motocross National Series when I was 16, 17 for Monster. And that was a huge learning experience. And that's also kind of when I sort of thought, okay, I can actually like do this and I can get consistent work. And this is something after high school. When I was in high school, I was like, I'm not going to go study. I don't even, not that I don't care, but like, I was like, I know what I want to do. Like I was pretty much like, I was plan A, B, and C, to be honest. Like I thought, okay, this is something that like, I'm going to sort of do and stick to, and it's going to be my career, I guess. So that was the idea.
That's cool.
Going through.
And then, so after school you finished, then like what was how did that start happening?
So after school, I was working for Piger for about 6 months.
Okay. And that's a mountain bike.
So that's a mountain bike. They make like frames. They also make complete bikes, make marathon bikes and trail bikes. And so I worked with them for about 6 months, and then left there. And I was working with Monster throughout high school. So I got a job with Monster. The first big job, I would say, well, super interesting one, was obviously the Motocross National Series, but also Pure Darkness 3, which is like a freeride event in Neisner. And I was 18, just out of high school, and I was hired to make the building videos. Sure. So I was going to go and stay there with Sam Reynolds and Matt McDuff. And basically what happened was, so someone I've been riding with for many years, Ryan Franklin, he worked in Monster South Africa for a few years, and now he lives in England, and he's managing the athletes for Europe, UK, and Africa, I think. And so he was like, cool, we're going to get you and you're going to go make the build videos. So he picked me up from my house, dropped me off in Neisner, and I'd never met Sam, I'd never met Matt, and I was so nervous because these are like my idols basically. And they're like, cool, you're going to make the build videos here. And so I spent 4 weeks with them, and we got it was so cool because we were out in the middle of nowhere, and we were staying in a house where like there was nothing around. Like it's just us, the house, food, and the jumps that we were building. And it was kind of wild, to be honest. Like we gave each other like crazy haircuts. Like we were like riding pit bikes around and like just going crazy. And the jumps they were building were so extreme that like I couldn't believe that like what they were going to ride, what we were building, because I was like trying to help building, because I also ride dirt jumps and things. So I always loved building as well. So like I'd always try and chip in where I could. But basically they built this huge line of jumps from scratch, and I got to see the process. And that's kind of where it started with Darkfest and things. And they built like a 20-meter high Roland tower. Sure. And I'm just watching this like 18, like what is happening? These guys are insane. So that's kind of where Darkfest started for me. And I've done every Darkfest since then.
And just for those who don't know, what is Darkfest?
Darkfest is like a freeride mountain bike event. essentially. And what sort of makes it different is that it's not really judged in like the normal contest way. Like the riders give each other prizes.
Okay.
So that it's like rider judged, and it's basically just like sessions. So usually like a Red Bull Rampage event, which a lot of people will know, that's like you have 2 runs, and if you mess up, that's it. And so Darkfest, because the consequences for riding jumps like that are so high, and like the injuries are still really hectic, they've just made it like sessions. So you don't have to like ride if you don't want to ride. You can if you're not feeling it that day, which is like a normal human thing. Like we all have days where like you want to someone's invited you to go ride, but you're not really like, your mind's not quite like focused on the task. And so for them, as I said, the consequences are so massive. And when they do crash, it's like the jumps are like 30 meters. The biggest jump's 32 meters. So yeah, like you got to really be feeling it that day to like push yourself to like the highest level. But because the environment's so like nurturing in that sense, like the riders really enjoy it, and they just want to ride all the time. So it's a really cool event to be a part of, especially like as a fan of mountain biking. Like for me to get to meet all these pros and things, and they come to Stellenbosch, where like, you know, we have all the best riders in the world in Stellenbosch, which is kind of insane as well. Yeah.
Huh. That's really cool.
Sorry, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, hundreds. So, I mean, so you kind of like almost jumped into the deep end a bit there with Monster. And how did, just for interest, how did you originally get the Monster job? Because obviously there's people out there who are like, yo, all these cool brands I'd love to work with. Like, how do I even get that going?
So lucky in some ways. Like, so when I met Ryan, who's now like, I guess a bit higher up in Monster and things, I grew up riding dirt jumps with him, and I was just making films of the dirt jumps just for fun. And I was like using my tripod as a steady cam as well. So like raise the tripod up and like using the legs as like a counterbalance system. And all these kinds of different little MacGyver ways that I would, just so that I could get the shots that I was like wanting to get. And so he saw that and he was like, well, like that shot can't be good. Like, there's no way that's good. And then I'd show him and he'd be like, oh, that's actually like pretty good. I still have a memory, like, like running next to the dirt jumps and then showing him, and he was like, oh, that's actually, it's not bad. And he said to me in that moment, have you ever thought about doing this as a career? And that's also kind of where things started. So I was super lucky in that regard to have Ryan be there since I started, and also in his career, in a sense, like he was in Monster South Africa working events, and he would give me jobs where he could, and he was moving up the ranks. And so I was also, he brought me with him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was cool because, I mean, he knew how passionate I was about riding. I'd always want to go to the jumps and always want to dig. So I guess he saw that and he was like, cool, we'll just slot you into Darkfest because it's kind of like the scene and things. So it kind of works, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got lucky in that sense. Like, sorry. I got super lucky to like make that connection. So it's hard to say like how do you do that. So I would say just if you have something you're passionate about, and a sport that you enjoy doing in terms of sport filmmaking, then just follow that and keep going. And you never know who you might meet, and you never know who you might meet will end up, I guess, as well. So just enjoy it as well and have fun. And that's what I did.
I think that's really good advice. It can be easy to be like looking up at these big brands and be like, oh, I want to shoot for them. But then are you even shooting that kind of stuff already? You know what I mean? Are you actually, do you enjoy that kind of thing? And are you already making an effort to do that? Because that's kind of what you did. You were just actually already filming the stuff you liked. And
Yeah,
then within that space, got to meet the people who are involved in it and
exactly.
then got opportunities like through that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's cool.
mean, yeah, like it hasn't felt like it's weird because I do regard myself as lucky because it's felt quite natural in some ways, where obviously it's had its hardships. But yeah, like I'm super grateful for like the way that things have worked out for me, to be honest. Yeah, there's like just a lot to be grateful for. And yeah, I guess I don't really have like great advice because yeah, I guess it was just right place, right time for a lot of things. Like, for example, the way that now I'm shooting the World Cup downhill mountain biking, which was a dream for me when I was 18. There's a bit of a backstory there.
Yeah.
So me and Teo entered this giant film festival when I was in matric and he was first year out of high school. And we ended up winning for some reason.
Well, obviously a good film.
It was all right. Yeah, no, it was good. We put a lot of effort in. I entered 2 years in a row. And so the second year we ended up winning and they flew us out to Whistler for 4 days. It was 45 hours of traveling. And we were only there for 5 days. But it was incredible. Like Andrew Nidling was there. Danny Hart was there, who now is on the team that I work for now. Sure. And Travis Pastrana, we got to go for dinner with him, which was like once in a lifetime opportunity. And so after meeting the marketing manager of Giant, while I was over there, I was like, can I please, that was 2013. And I was like, can I please shoot Peter Maritzburg for you, the World Cup the following year? Like, I'll do it for free. I just want to like maybe have a chance of getting on the World Cups. Because that was always something that like I really wanted to do. And then they ended up canceling Peter Maritzburg just because it was too expensive to bring all the teams and all the parts and everything all the way to South Africa. So that chance that chance kind of closed, I guess. And so I tried a few more like pitches and like try to like sell myself to like other teams, sell myself, or like try to like, be like getting a job on the World Cups. And then, I mean, there's just so many talented filmmakers in England and Europe, and it's so much cheaper to fly them in and out. So it always felt like an unattainable goal. And I kind of always just let it go, if that makes sense. I was like, it's just not something that's going to happen. Like, I was like, I'm just going to work in South Africa. I'm going to go to Europe and try and pick up little jobs here and there. And then the end of last year, I did a shoot with Greg Minar, who's like the GOAT of mountain biking, downhill mountain biking. I did a shoot with him in January 2024, and he was putting together a new World Cup team. And I guess he was maybe impressed by, I was like super organized and made sure like everything was like in its right place. And I guess he enjoyed the way the shoot went. And then he's like, what are you doing this year? I'm like, nothing. I actually had no work. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I have so little work, and how am I going to, like, maybe I should just get a job, or like, should just do something else. Like, I'm tired of like struggling as like a mountain bike filmmaker. Like, it's just, it was starting to get a bit old, if that makes sense. Just like not like having like the income that I was like wanting or any like, yeah. So he basically is like, well, if you want to join us for the World Cups, like if you're keen, you can have like a Zoom call with Norco and everything. And he's like, would you be interested? And I was like, would I? Well, I was like, sure, Greg, I was like, yeah, sure. Like, like I was just like, because I'd done it so many times in the past and like never quite worked out. So I was like, these guys aren't gonna fly me all the way from South Africa to like shoot World Cups. But then Greg's the person that just makes things happen, and he just like, we did a few Zoom calls with Norco, and they were like, cool, you're in. And they put me on a flight to the first team camp in Portugal, end of March 2024. And then that's kind of just where that kicked off. And then I came home after the team camp, and then I went to the first World Cup at Fort William and did the whole season with them. So that was also just, I guess, like a nice thing for me, because it was like, it came full circle. It was something that I really, really wanted when I was 18, and then just like I like let it go. And then it's weird how life works. Like, I guess 10 years later or 9 years later, and that opportunity came up, and yeah, it's just quite a cool moment.
Yeah, that must have been amazing to have that happen. So has more come from that, just for interest? Are you there again, or what's the situation?
So they've brought me on for 2025 as well. And I'm so excited. Like, it's so nice having like that lined up. It's just like, I don't know, so reassuring, and just makes me feel at ease that I have work for the year.
Yeah.
And so it's hard work, the World Cups. Like, when I got there, I thought, okay, cool. Like, I really wanted to like do the best job possible. So I was so nervous because, I stayed in Europe for 5.5 months, and you leave Cape Town and you're like, is this really all I'm taking? Like, you're like, it feels surreal to like be leaving with like just 2 suitcases and a backpack.
Yeah.
And you sort of start panicking, like, do I have all my battery? Like, you have everything, but as soon as you get to the airport, you're like, it was quite scary, because I'd never obviously done World Cups. So I didn't know what I was in for at all. And it was hard work as well. Like, we had pretty tight turnarounds. Like, basically did like an episode from each race, or when there was back-to-back races, we do one episode on that. And then usually we turn the videos around by the Friday. Well, release the video on Friday, so the race would end on Saturday or Sunday, and we deliver on Thursday. So it was quite hectic, because it was like these 10 to 15 minute episodes, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. But like, it was such a cool experience. Like, and I also enjoyed like going to the race, shooting, and like going flat out, and then editing flat out. And then once the editing was done, then you can relax. Because the longer deadlines, I guess sometimes you end up just doing like double the work.
Yeah.
So I almost enjoy just going flat out for those 2 weeks or week and a half, and then just like having a break and resetting and recharging.
Yeah. When you get these kind of jobs that are like a dream job, or you're going to go meet some athlete that you've known for ages, and it seems like you've had quite a few of those kind of opportunities where it's like, it makes you like nervous and those type of things. Like, for you, what are you nervous about, in the sense of like, are you nervous about screwing up? Are you nervous about what you're going to make? Or, and then also, how do you actually deal with that like nervousness?
Sure. I think I'm more nervous about messing up, and yeah, that's something that like, it in a way drives me to like make sure everything is correct, because I can be a bit forgetful, and having that little bit of anxiety is almost like, it's not a good way to like, I guess it's not a good driver, potentially, maybe not the healthiest. But I actually don't mind a bit of anxiety before a shoot, because I think it's normal. I think it's perfectly, like it's a natural thing to go through. And I guess when I meet these athletes, like, I don't know what it is, but you get like starstruck because, I mean, I grew up watching mountain bike films, and like these guys seem like superheroes. Because like that's also a lot of what like mountain biking is like, you know, being cool and making people, you know, not seem cool, but like really like hyping up what they are doing, because it is such a dangerous thing that a lot of these riders are doing, that I think it's good to like sort of not, just show them in their best light, if that makes sense. And so, when you watch all that content, you're obviously going to get nervous, like when you meet them, because you've just been watching them do all this crazy stuff and win all these races, and so it's like surreal, if that makes sense. Like it's strange to see someone in real life that you've only seen on a screen for however many years. So but then that fades as well. So you have that, and then it lasts for a little bit. But then once you live with people like Sam Reynolds and Matt McDuff, when I was living with them for, I guess, 3 weeks, like you just get to know each other, and then eventually we're all just people, you know, and we just, it's just Sam, and it's just Matt, and it's just Greg. So to me, I like that. I like it when you actually just almost become friends, because I would consider them my friends. And just like get to know people on a more human like level, and actually like see different sides of them, and like I guess that it kind of, it's cool, like it's a surreal feeling in the beginning, but then things just become more normal, I guess.
With say taking on a job, say like the World Cup that you were trying to do 9 years before that, do you feel anything about the fact, or like how do you feel, obviously you've had 9 years more experience as well, do you feel like, or if you had to look back on yourself 9 years ago, how would it have been for you then? Would you have still wanted to have done it then, or do you think kind of things worked out for the best, or what do you think?
100% they worked out for the best. I'm so glad. Like, I mean, everything, you know, the way I look at things is like, it's just trusting the process, and like, just almost believing in the process. And like, that was like another thing that made me realize, okay, like this happened for a reason. And if I'd done this when I was 18, it would have gone sideways. It wouldn't have gone sideways, but like in my mind, it's like the first year you do it is almost like your big shot, and like people will watch what you make. So I'm glad that I learned so much from all the other things that I made over the years, and just picked up on so many different like things, especially around documentary, like sound. Like back then, the sound wouldn't have been what it is now, and things. And not just that, like also telling the story and trying to show the riders on a more human way, which is like, I think what I was able to do in some ways. And I don't think I would have been able to do that when I was a lot younger, just because I didn't have the perspective of like seeing the riders as people, which is what has happened over many years of, you know, hanging out with the people that I looked up to. I've sort of, that's almost not faded, but like the way that I see athletes is different now, because we're all just people, and it's hard. Like racing's super difficult, and there's lots of like things that can go wrong, and I really respect that. And I think that it's just interesting to see how different people deal with it, and like the kinds of people that race are like just super strong characters. Like they have a lot of like will, or I don't know. Yeah. So that's what I enjoy about what I've been able to do, I guess, over the last year. And yeah, like I've just been really enjoying that side of things, and not just making like sick edits, which is fun too. I love doing that as well. But there is something different about like telling stories of the writers.
Something like similar, not exactly the same kind of like story as yours, but I used to be quite like nervous about doing interviews with people, and like even just regular ones, a corporate job or whatever the case is. I was always like so worried about the gear and the setup and all, you know, like. And then the thing that really made me realize was when after doing it a bit, I kind of realized that they are way more nervous than I am actually. And it was about like switching that whole thing about what am I supposed to be doing and am I doing it correctly, to be like sort of making them feel comfortable. And like what you're saying, you see the people as other humans. And if you have that sort of like approach to your work, then meeting like famous people, that thing sort of like starts to fall away, and you just start seeing people as people, and you're interested in them, and you like, how can I make them feel more comfortable maybe, or things like that.
Yeah. And I think another thing for me was like, like so much content has been like made about these athletes. So how can I make content that's like, well, what can I do that's going to be different, you know? Like, how can I show a different side to what's been done is also kind of where my mind goes, which I like, because that's something that I feel like has helped me along the way, is like those sort of thought processes of like, okay, like these are the films that have been made. Obviously, Greg, it's hard because like there's just so many good films about him. But yeah, I guess that's like the goal. And then wherever I end up, like that's okay. But as long as I go in with like a goal of like trying to do something that like I think will be cool and show something different to what's already been done. And then obviously things aren't going to go that way, like along the process. And it's not going to be perfect. But yeah, so get back to your question. In terms of, well, what you were saying, rather, with the interviewing thing, I also like, it's taken me so many years to get like calm when I'm chatting to someone. But I also realized like they've not done so many interviews, but they don't mind. They don't mind me asking questions, and they don't mind talking. And you just got to ask, you know? And then like see what happens. And most of the time people are cool and they don't mind answering. So like that's something that I also kind of has helped me, that mindset in terms of interviews. And yeah, like it's hard sometimes because you have to maintain eye contact and you have to be calm and you have to listen. And that's something that's not so easy actually. And that's like something I've had to like work on, because shooting mountain bikes, just like cool riding videos, you don't learn any of that. Like you just want to film the biking and make it as cool as possible.
Where are you now in your career? In the sense of like, where do you feel like you're at, and what are you sort of thinking about going forward? Do you have any specific goals, or you have like an idea of what you're trying to? Are you happy with where you are? Are you trying to like adjust things, or how are things looking?
So, I mean, for me at the moment, I'm like happy with where I'm at in terms of like, this is essentially my dream job. So I'm like, cool. like, I think for goals, like I learned so much doing this job last year, like traveling and living out of the suitcase and being at the races and learning how the days go and learning what happens at what parts of the day and getting to know the whole team and things. So there's like a lot to like build on from last year in terms of like learnings. And I tried to like make notes while I was going through the season so that I could sort of look back and be like, okay, these are the things that I want to improve. After you deliver a film, you think about all the things that you would have changed. So I have a chance to do that in some ways. So that's what I'm quite looking forward to. And yeah.
Is that like a normal process that you do on regular jobs? Like you kind of do like a recap for yourself on, oh, how could I have done this differently next time? Or is that sort of a regular
It depends. It depends on the job. Like, so some jobs I consider work, and then like, just because, like sometimes you do a corporate job, or there's stuff I do to keep the lights on that like I never post on social media. Like I've done 2 seasons of cooking shows. I've done 3 seasons during COVID, like studio cooking shows, weddings, and lots of other things, like apps, and just, there's a variety of different things you can shoot. And so a lot of those jobs, I just go in, kind of do them. And obviously you learn like from those jobs, but I tend to just like try and treat that more as like work, where like the outcome isn't like, I'm not going to be like devastated if like the film doesn't turn out. Not that I would be devastated ever if a film doesn't turn out well, but it's just like I'm less attached to the outcome, which doesn't mean that I don't care about the quality, and I still want to do the best job I could possibly do. Just to put that out there as well. It's just more that I don't like look back on like things that I could have changed.
Yeah.
But especially with this job that I have now, like I do I do make notes, and I like to try and learn from like what I did wrong from work. Yeah. And I like to, like, now I'm trying to learn more about lighting. So especially with interview setups, like that's something that I definitely want to build on going forward. And that's like just another like thing that I can add to my arsenal or whatever. Like it's, so it's just like things that I can add to and build on, and, because it's exciting and it's fun to like improve. I don't know. It doesn't make me a nerd, I guess so. And like I enjoy all the little technical things and trying to make the films better. So yeah, I'd like it with interviews. I also like to make like write down the questions, because it makes me feel at ease just knowing that I can look down and I'll have a question to ask, so that if I do get stuck, I can look down and I've got like something to like fall back on. So that's something that I really like to do, especially for interviews like the World Cups and things where like time is of the essence. And I hate editing interviews where I think, damn, I should have asked that. That's so yeah, hate's maybe a strong word, but like it is annoying. So that's something that like I've tried to work on and try to build on, is like getting everything I need from each interview. And like some of the athletes will probably say, but Thomas, you don't even use half of the interview. Or like, like I sometimes do the interviews too long, which maybe is something I can also work on. So it's like a fine line, or good. It's like working out the balance of like overshooting, undershooting, turnarounds. Because like this year, that was another thing that like I did was overshoot, like shot like an hour of footage a day, maybe more. And then you've got to edit that in 5 days, and you just put all this pressure on yourself now. So like that's also something to learn, I guess, is like what do I need, and like what do I want, and like what am I going to use, and what did I shoot that I never used, like looking back on the last year. So that's also just something that like I'm trying to dial in, because it's also like, the whole thing of like work smarter, not harder, which is like, I always thought, okay, if I'm working hard, like that's good. But now I'm like starting to learn, if I make the process easier for myself, then I will enjoy it more, and I will be less stressed. So it's like a lot of upsides to it as well to make things easier.
Yeah, that's very true. Funny, you talking about that made me think of this time when I used to shoot the like trail running, and it was like a multi-day events. And then I was used to like having to do a lot of on foot myself. So like half the day, maybe like 20 kilometers, I'd need to be on foot. So you really feel like you're working hard. You come in the day and you're like finished, and you like really felt like you achieved something besides the photographs. You've like really done something. And the one time I went there and they're like, cool, we got a helicopter for you this time. I was like, oh, that's amazing. But I had so much conflict in there because at the end of the day, I was like totally not tired. And I actually struggled a bit with that, with the creativity, because I almost felt like I needed to be tired to be like creative. It was weird. But yeah, then I kind of realized, but hold on, me not being tired actually opens up so much space in my head that I can think more. And yeah, it was a interesting, weird thing that happened.
No, it is a weird thing. Like, yeah, it's almost satisfying having that like tired feeling when you put your camera back on the ground.
I really worked hard for this.
Yeah,
so it's going to be good.
Today was hectic.
But maybe not.
But like, is it necessary?
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, helicopter ride, like how could you say no to that?
Good.
So
it was awesome, yeah. What are you currently finding is the biggest like challenge for you in whether it's the creative work or the client side of things, or
I guess like work-life balance, like trying to find time for things outside of making films. That's probably something that, you know, I struggle with, because as a freelancer, you always want to say yes to all the jobs. And now finally, like Feb, I actually have time to do, well, there's like time for myself. And yeah, I think that's honestly like the biggest challenge. And then also like restraining from buying gear is a challenge. It's, yeah, that's something I struggle with, because yeah, it's so tempting to always like want to get the next new thing. So like I'm trying to like hold back on like buying things and like letting things like sit. Like I see something I want and then I'm like, okay, just like leave it alone for a while. And then if I come back to it, I'm like, this would make the film, this would add this to the films that I'm making, or like how much difference is it actually going to make? So that's something I've sort of tried to implement and I've been learning. But yeah, I mean, work-life balance. I guess it's, yeah, for me, it's easy to like, I'm a yes man in some ways. And like, I can be too nice when people say deadlines. So that's also something that like, I'm trying to learn, is like having the discipline and like, in some ways, like self-respect to say like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Instead of just like sacrificing your time, or like, yeah, in some ways your health even can be. So like, yeah, that's something that like I'm working on at the moment. That's a challenge for me. Like it is a challenge because it is something like that currently, you know, I have to keep like remembering along the way. Yeah.
And I think that's very cool. There's such like a learning process about ourselves through this whole life thing, I guess. If you're able to see it as that, I think it's helpful. You can see like, oh, okay, I keep on doing this thing to myself where I say like yes to same day edits that are totally unreasonable. What happens if I say no once? And let me see how that works out. I've said yes so many times. Let's see what happens. This is different. Or like, maybe this isn't so good for me in a health way, you know, and it's actually, I need to create more boundaries or structure for myself. Or yeah, it seems like you're quite in tune with things that you realize that you like struggle with, or looking at how you've spoken quite a few times about like being organized in shoots and like keeping a list of things that you want to do. Is that something that came from because you had previous experience that you were super unorganized and it was a disaster, or is that more like a natural thing about what you do?
It doesn't come naturally to me. I'm very ADHD and I tend to forget things. I think that's where, it's also the fear of, it's like the fear of the feeling when you realize you've forgotten something. That feeling is the worst. So I've had that happen to me. And I suppose I was lucky in some ways. Once again, I do think I was quite lucky because like the growing up in high school, if I forgot something, I was forgiven in some ways. Like, so, and it is something that I don't want to make myself seem like unprofessional or anything, but yeah, like I definitely learned like the hard way in terms of like missing deadlines and yeah, like it's something that I'm still trying to work on in terms of like, as you said, like the deadline being like attainable. And yeah, that's and in terms of being organized, it's definitely something that like I've had to like work on because it doesn't come naturally. And yeah, it's something that I do enjoy. And that's why I like enjoy what I'm doing now with the World Cups, because I feel like finally I'm like going somewhere, that's like the next like stage of my career. Whereas I felt like over the last few years before that, after COVID, a lot of the work dried up and things. And I just felt like I was just like kind of going in circles. So I was also becoming a bit like frustrated or, yeah, just like I didn't have the same passion. And then that fire led to like me letting things slip. Not having the fire led to me like letting things slip a bit in terms of like being super prepared and like doing the best job possible and things. I still obviously like you get into routines of like getting ready for shoots. So once you know your equipment, like you know exactly what you need to charge and what you need to remember. It's like, so I don't know, I think it's, you get into that routine and so it becomes easier. But yeah, like going into the World Cup job, I'll talk about it again. But yeah, like that kind of like relit the fire in terms of like, I was so excited about like making films again. And so, yeah, that's kind of what like got me excited to like do like everything in terms of like equipment, like have everything that I might need and everything is like dialed and like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it does give us so much opportunity as well to like, especially if we like film and edit ourselves, because then you have to deal with the consequences of what you filmed. So then you kind of start putting things in place that like either like prevents that from happening for yourself. Whether it is like, I need to make a list of questions I'm going to ask so that next time I'm editing the interview, I actually have what I need, or keeping a gear list because I keep forgetting my batteries or whatever. But
like audio, like monitoring the audio and just like, and like instead of just like putting the mic on and being like,
it's probably
cool,
fine.
that's probably all right. Like I've done this 100 times and the mic's probably at the same levels that it was. And like these settings will probably work. And I've had that backfire. Like I've had issue with the mic and then there's like feedback, like, well, there's like the aircon noise in the like that noise floor is like really high and things. So like those kind of things. And then now you must go and try and fix it in Adobe Podcast, voice enhance, and it sounds like a robot. And then you're like doing all this work for like, it could have just been so easy, but you've just made it so hard. So like that's the kind of thing as well, like you were saying.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. What is, okay, so currently you're kind of happy with where you're going, you're excited for next World Cup. let's maybe ask a question about someone else who's kind of getting into the industry now type of thing. Like, what advice would you give someone who's like keen to start making films, whether it's mountain biking, not necessarily mountain biking specific, but they keen to do it, but they're worried about how to get clients or whether they should, this is a good thing to do. What kind of advice would you tell them?
I think if you have a goal and you have like something to look up to and something to like reach for, even if you land short, like it's like worth going for it. That makes sense. Like every film that's been made is just people with a camera, right? So people have made all the films that exist. So obviously budgets and things, but my point is like that was the mindset I had when I was younger. I was like, if they can do it, why can't I? And then I tried, and then I figured out why I couldn't, but at least, I tried, and that allows you to leapfrog maybe in some ways to like trying to like keep going for that goal. But then as you do that, you start learning things. You're like, oh, this is, and then you go back to the film they shot that you were aiming towards, and you think, okay, so this is what they did that I didn't do, and this is the lighting they chose that I chose in the middle of the day in the forest, and it looks terrible, and they chose the afternoon and it looks great. So I think like that's a cool way to maybe like try and go about it. And then in terms of clients, I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but like I think just like socializing a bit has got me far. Like trying to like, I don't know, go out for dinner after a shoot or whatever the case may be, and like that side of things I think is important in terms of like making connections, and especially like in terms of like when you're traveling with a team, for example, like you need to be like, most of the time you're not making films, so like you need to be easy to like slot into the team, like it's not like makes things more difficult. So I think that's like being easy to work with is something that I've also learned. Like just because I want it doesn't mean it's the best thing for the team or whatever the shoot is. Maybe it's I'm being too much and I need to like just be okay with the shot that I got instead of trying to get people to do it again and again. So like less perfectionism and more trying to like be like an easier person to work with, something that I also learned along the way. So I'd say like that's something to try and like work on aside from making films. But if you're just shooting for passion and fun, then you don't have to be that easy to work with.
Yeah.
Then you can go and get exactly what you want and do it exactly the way you want it to. And that's also cool. So I think, I think like just enjoying it and thinking of ways, like watching videos on YouTube and thinking of ways you could get shots that maybe don't like the way you can get shots that are done with high budget, but you could do it in a similar way that requires no budget. Like a cable cam shot is expensive, like to get a full like remote control one with like a Movi or a Ronin, the big Ronin on there, that's super expensive. But how could you get a shot like that? Maybe go find a trail that's next to a road and go shoot that, and you can get a similar shot, and all you need is your camera and a car. So there's like, I don't know, there's different ways to like try and MacGyver things and try do the best you can with whatever you have. I would say you don't always need like the latest and greatest equipment, because there's always going to be people with better equipment than you, no matter what equipment you have. So like, just I think using the equipment that you have to the best of your ability as well is something that's cool, because like you'll always do that then. So whatever equipment you get, you'll continue to push it to like the absolute limit of what it can do. And then that's just something you keep doing. So that's also something I think is cool to like find like what your equipment is capable of. So
Yeah.
don't know if that's
Yeah. I think it like you said, even with the gears thing, it can be easy to get caught up in like, oh, this new camera does this, I have to have it. But if you break it down into like, okay, what is it going to do for the project? Is it actually going to make my film better, or am I just like getting caught up in gear hype and those type of things, which is very easy to do.
It's so easy.
I mean, all the marketing, we're in marketing technically, we know why people think that.
Yeah.
But
I love the text specs though.
Yeah.
Like I want to know why it's better.
Yes.
You know, I don't watch the DJI video and go, damn, I want that.
Oh yeah. You're not watching the like inspo video. I'm
getting on the sheet. I'm looking through and I'm watching the like, the Gerald Undone videos and like, just like when he, like why this new sensor is actually better. Like, does it actually have more dynamic range? Or are they just telling us that?
Yes.
Is it actually sharper, or is the colors actually, I want to see that, like, you know, so there's that side of things, which I enjoy, getting nerdy. I think in terms of equipment though, like especially secondhand, like these days, there's so many good cameras you can get for so cheap. Like a GH5, in my opinion, is such an affordable camera. That's what I shot on for many years. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I used it for many years, but honestly, it's fantastic. Like it was made in 2017, and you can get them for like, the battery life is good, the quality's, you know, good. So like as a beginner, looking into like what equipment can I buy from 2017, you know, that will do a close to or similar job to what you can buy now, instead of like looking on ORMs, like look on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. Are you hard on yourself for the end product? Or how do you, like you want to make something and you have an idea and it doesn't come out? Is it like a punch in the gut for yourself? Are you hard about that? Or are you kind of like, okay, it came out different, but it's fine?
I'm hard on myself. I've learned to let go of like outcomes in some ways. Like it's been a slow process, because when I was younger, like it was like I wanted to be the best. That was like, to be honest, like I had this like arrogance in a way that like I don't mind that I had it, because it was just part of my journey, and it actually, I think, helped me, because I thought, you know, I believed that I could be the best, which obviously like it's very ambiguous to like what is the best or anything, but I always just kind of believe that, like, you know, I like people that make films, a lot of the films that I watch, it's just like two people that like go out and shoot. So that was something that I think helped. But then I think there's like a balance between, like, I'm sure you know, like the balance of like being too hard on yourself and then like being too arrogant. There's like just a confidence in the middle. So I think trying to find that and seeing people with that and looking like, oh, like they just believe that they're like, they believe in themselves and they think, you know, I can make good films, but if it doesn't turn out the way that I wanted, then I'm not going to be too upset by that. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. It's like the thing that fuels you, like when you stop having that, like the arrogance or the anxiety, then you think, well, now I've got nothing that makes me want to try. So yeah, I guess like just trying to find like the happy medium of being like confident and excited about making films. I think that's the cool part. And trying to like, I mean, the validation side of it as well. Like that's definitely what drove me in the beginning, because like, yeah, I guess I wasn't getting like a lot of validation anywhere else, so it was like nice to have that. Felt good, but it is always nice when a film does well, though. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being happy about a film doing well. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's also like getting too attached to like if it does well and like watching the numbers, which is still something I struggle with. That's another thing I struggle with, is like being too attached to like how a film does. But like I do look at that side of things just because I'm interested in what people want. Like, but then there's another thing that opens up the door to like making films for other people instead of making films for myself. And there's another thing that I struggle with, like making films that I think other people will like and making films that I think are cool. Like that's a tough balance. Like, obviously you should make films that you think are cool, but when people give you feedback and tell you something sucks, or you're like, I thought that was cool, you know? And so that's like, it can be a bit of like it can be deflating, because you're like, well, is my like compass off? Like, is it like that I actually don't know what's good, you know? So yeah, I guess like just hearing that and like knowing, okay, I'm not perfect and I can't make a perfect film, and having feedback from other people is probably good, and I should listen. And like sometimes with the tight turnarounds and things, it's like you kind of you just have to hear the feedback, make the change, and then deliver. So there's not time to really consider everything. Sometimes you're doing it out of impulse. So yeah, there's that aspect. But then I think, yeah, like knowing that I'm not perfect is like, it sounds easy or like sounds silly, right? Like, but it's like you do get caught up in like, you know, being attached to like the work, because it's like the work is almost feels like it's you in some ways, or like, yeah, because it's quite like I guess it's a personal like thing, like, so yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of creative people do struggle with like that sort of that like attachment to like what people think of their stuff. I think like the best artists though, they don't care, and they just make it, and they say, you either like it or you don't like it, but I like it. I think that's my favorite art, you know? So then like that's what I also like want to aspire to be, like to like not care and just be like, cool, well, I don't mind if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Which is not easy for me, but yeah.
Do you have an outlet for that, in the sense, obviously with client work, it needs to the balance between what you like and what client likes? Do you have a sort of a separate, this is just for me project that you do every now and then that?
Yeah, I've got one I'm doing about our family farm. I haven't started yet, but we start next week.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, my dad passed away when I was 10. So my younger brother runs the farm now, and we have an interview of our dad from back in the day.
Sure.
So we're going to make a film about that. Okay. And that's going to be cool. And something that like, I don't know, it just sparks my creativity. And I think during the process will be like quite therapeutic, or I don't know, just like curious to see how it goes and like see what happens with it. Because yeah, it's super personal and should be quite an interesting process, something completely different, like for me. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And like, that's what gets me excited, is like doing stuff that like I've never done, or I've just like, it's like the unknown, you know? So that's cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the thing as well, that comes back to like work-life balance, what we were talking about. So it's like, do I really want to do more? Like I've like delivered everything and I've done everything. Like I just want to go for a hike or like go ride my bike, because that's like what actually fuels my creativity, is getting out and like just living normal life. When I get back to like working or editing, I feel like my cup is full, or like so like cup is full. But but like that's what I'm
like recharged.
Recharged, like rejuvenated or whatever. So I think that's an important part of the process for me. And then doing things for fun, like when I have more time, and then I like to do things for fun when I feel like it, or I've been enjoying the work that I've been doing. So I feel like I've had really like creative editing sessions and things where I like feel really fired up and excited. But then at the same time, I've also had to push through a lot of resistance that like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then just like doing it and getting it done in some ways. So, I think in terms of like doing stuff for myself, I've got that other project coming up, but we'll film. And other than that, I'm kind of just like trying to like do other stuff and just like not edit.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel quite similar with that. Like sometimes I do have ideas of stuff I want to do as personal projects, but I first almost need the time to not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes what happens is that is a bit long, and then I need to get back to work. And I don't get around to it again. Like, I need like 3 weeks off, because if I have like the first week is like just not doing anything with my camera, and then maybe the second week I'll start playing with it again for a personal project. But then after that time, it's like, okay, but now I have a new shoot coming up. So
yeah, then you're like,
can be tricky. Yeah,
don't want to burn out and like all these other things. So yeah.
I also feel similar with the needing to not do anything that's like work related. Even though I love what I do, I do need that time away and do other stuff, like say go for a hike, go ride a bike, be outside, do other stuff. That is, it's like not thinking about it. It creates the space later to think about it. Because sometimes also like I feel like if I have an idea, I should follow through with it now, otherwise it's gonna go away, you know. But give myself a break from thinking about it, which is hard. I still like struggle with not thinking about work in not in a bad way, in like ideas of like, oh, I should do this, or I should try and get this client to make this kind of video because it would be rad, or but to actually like switch off is quite difficult.
Yeah, like I think it's always there. Like you always think the ideas are always like so like it's cool, and I don't mind that. Like I like having ideas and like feeling creative. But I guess like it's that time off that like that you actually need, and oftentimes you have so much little things that you need, like chores that you need to do, and then like often after a big like work week or two, whatever, you're so tired afterwards that you like just having a bit of like time to just rest and like have a weekend. Because like, you know, sometimes like I'm like, is it Friday, is it Thursday, like
I don't know,
the weekend does not like make much difference like sometimes, like, so like having that, like normal people will have like 2 days off a week, you know, whereas like sometimes it's like, because I think also what you get caught up with is like, I haven't rented a desk for a while, but I really enjoyed that because it's Monday to Friday and you act like you have a 9 to 5, except you still work for yourself, but you go somewhere, other people are there, you work like morning to the afternoon, then you leave your computer there, you go home, and then you don't have your computer or anything, so you can't do anything. So now you just relax. Now you're forced to relax. And I actually do miss that, and it's something I'm trying to do now that I'm back in Cape Town and everything is kind of settled down. But it's hard because my editing setup I'm quite stoked on now, so it's like, you know, you don't want to leave it, like, or not even. It's just like, I don't know, it's just like quite a nice little thing. So, but that's also like something I'd recommend, or I also want to do again, is like renting a desk as a freelancer if you struggle with like getting the time like away from it, which it's a good advice myself, to be honest. So I'm probably going to do that again soon. Yeah.
Okay, where can people find your work? How do they get hold of you?
Sure.
What's the way to like reach out?
Sure. So Instagram, I'm not super active on, but it's there. It's Thomas Sandell _ and then the Norco season, 2024 season, I did like a recap documentary. It's like 54 minutes if you feel like watching it. Quite proud of it. A lot of work. So yeah, stoked on that. So that's on Norco Bicycles YouTube.
Okay.
So if you just type in, it's called Baptism of Fire, and then Norco Race Division is the team. And so that's like the big piece I did from this year, or last year. And then, yeah, I guess in terms of like my work, I have a link on my Instagram that's like some of the projects that I'm proud of. It's like a playlist on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
So that's somewhere that you can also check out some of the stuff I've done. But yeah, that's about it. Any of the Darkfest highlights, I've maybe got between 5 and 15 shots in. So, so yeah. I did like a documentary. It's called The History of Darkfest. It's on Sam Reynolds' channel as well. And that's also something I'm quite proud of. It's quite a few years ago. So if you want to like check that out, it was like my first proper documentary that like I made when I was 23, 24, maybe even younger, and like put a lot of effort in. I think I edited for like 2 months or something.
Sure.
So there's that too, if you want to check it out.
Awesome. So your like personal project that you're going to be working on soon, where would that go out on eventually?
So that will go out on the farm page will be out on. So it's called Tiruk Wines. Tiruk. So it's TIERHOEK, but I will post on my Instagram as well.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like, that's another thing about like getting the work, like creative work done, is like just making things for my Instagram. But that's, look out for that, and cool. Check out the film if you want.
Okay. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it.
Thanks
for your time. It was really lucky to chat. And
thanks. Yeah, it was.
Hear more about your background. I think, you've definitely got this like MacGyver outlook on life where it's like, it seems like if you can't do something, how am I going to figure it out type of vibe? Or like, I don't have this gear, let me make it. Or it's very cool, very inspiring. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will get some stuff out of this.
Thanks. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that episode. Hope you enjoyed what Thomas had to share. And yeah, if you would like to be part of this, please reach out to me and I would love to have you on the show. Cool. See you guys in the next video.